I'm Storyman Mark, and it's story time. Here we are, Milwaukee Avenue. I'm here at the Grove in Glenview. We're going to take a little bit of a nature walk through the Grove and just have some meditative moments. As you meditate on the images of the Grove, sit up straight, maybe put a cushion behind your back. Place your feet flat on the floor. Relax your shoulders and the muscles of your face. Breathe. Sit quietly and be a witness to the nature sounds and images you hear and see. Hey, so if you've been following along this month, you know that it is Asian Pacific Heritage Month here in the States. To wrap up the series from a story from Malaysia, and this is one of my favorite stories actually. It is a story that is called Heart as Nails, and it's about getting older and what might happen to you. Once upon a time there was a farmer, and this farmer liked going on long walks through his farm, and he liked being a farmer. He'd been that ever since he was a child. He took over his farm from his father, who had in fact been passed down from his father and his father before him. But you know, he was getting up near 80 years old now, and he was feeling like maybe it was time to retire. So there was one hot spring day, unusually hot for a spring day, and he was putting the crops in and getting everything ready for the season when he had a thought. His body was aching, and he remembered that one of his sons had once said that when the time came that he would like to maybe take over the farm. And so the father thought for a little bit and said, you know what, I'm going to give my son a call and see what he says, because I think it's time to retire. And that's what he did. He went in the house after he finished his chores for the day, and he called his son up, who was at work. And he told his son that he wanted to retire and would he take over the farm. Well, the son remembered how much fun he had on the farm, and while it could be hard work being on a farm, he had a lot of fun there, and he thought maybe it would be great to get away from the city. He was an accountant, so he was crunching numbers, sitting at a desk all day, and he had really fond memories of being on the farm and the air and just everything about it, even though it was a bit of hard work, especially when it was time to bring in the crops. So he said, you know what, Dad, let me talk to my wife, and I'll talk to my two kids. He had one son and one daughter, and they were young, and he thought they would enjoy being on the farm. Yeah, get out of the city, get some fresh air. So by the time he got home, he'd already convinced himself that he probably wanted to go out. So he went and talked to his wife, and she said, well, I don't know, that's a big move. I tell you what, let's go out to the farm and show the kids, because we haven't been there in a while, and see what they have to say. So they did. They just took a trip out. The father welcomed them. They had a nice dinner on one Saturday afternoon and just had a wonderful time. You know, the father going out with his grandfather and telling stories to his kids about, well, I did this over here or I did that over there. Oh, that was the time I almost fell out of the barn. That's right. Luckily, there was a haystack there that caught me. And by the end of the day, he and his wife decided that the kids would probably be better off living on a farm and getting out of the city. The nearby school was a pretty good school, so he thought it would be all right. So he called his father the next day and said, Father, you know what? We're going to come and move in. Let us get everything together, but before the end of the season here, before harvest time, I will come and help you out, and we'll all move in and we'll get it all ready to go. And that's what happened. He gave his notice at work, and after tax season finished, they all packed up their bags and they moved on out to the farm. And he started working at the farm, and the father kept working with him for most of the summer. But at one point he said, you know, son, I really feel tired. I need to just retire. And the son said, it's all right, Father, I'll take over from here. And so he had placed a rocking chair on his front porch. Right, it was in the shade all day long, and his daughter-in-law would make him lemonade, and his grandkids would play around and sit on his lap, and he could tell them stories, and it was just wonderful. He thought, you know what, this retirement, there's something to it. Maybe I should have done this years ago. Well, one day led to another, and it was an unusually hot summer, and so the crops required hand watering. And it took a while. The vegetable garden came in, and they had wonderful vegetables, but it was their main crop. That was going to be the issue, bringing that in all by himself. And he was out there toiling away and getting ready to gather the crops in and checking it out, and the crops came up pretty good, even though it had been a hot summer. But with every passing day, every passing hot day, the boy thought, boy, I wish my father would help me. But the father was retired, and he just enjoyed sitting and taking
long naps, rocking in that chair in the middle of the hot afternoon sun. Oh, it was good, this retirement stuff. But every time the son looked up on the porch from down in that field and saw his father just sitting there doing nothing, he began to get angry. And sometimes when you get angry, it kind of festers inside. He got angrier and angrier as one day led to the next, and his father wasn't lifting a finger to help at all anymore. Angrier and angrier, and his kids helped doing a little bit of stuff, but they were young and really couldn't do too much. Feed the chickens, help the mother around with the things she was doing on the farm. Finally, toward the end of the summer, just before it was harvest time, the son was so angry. He was standing in the field, and he looked at his father sitting there peacefully in the shade, taking an afternoon nap. He found himself in the barn, and he grabbed himself a fist of nails and some boards and a big hammer, and he started to boom, boom, hammer those nails into the wood. Boom, boom, and with every boom, every time that hammer hit the head of one of those nails, boom, his heart got harder. That's right. Boom, and harder still did his heart get. Boom, until his heart was hard as nails. Boom, boom, and he ended up making a huge box with a lid on it. And he hoisted that box up onto a three-wheeled cart, and he grabbed the hold of the handles of that cart, and he stood up, and he began to make his way along the path up the hill to where there was a cliff. And he was pushing, and with every step on that hot end of summer day, oh, he was angrier and angrier. He was going to get rid of this old man who was of no use to anyone anymore. And he pushed it all the way up to the edge of that cliff, and he dropped the box down the handles. He let go and just stood there for a moment to catch his breath. Now, inside the box, the father had been wondering what was going on, and then it dawned on him. His son was angry. And so he knocked on the top of the box and said, son, what is it, Father? Son, I understand you're mad at me. You think that I'm no good anymore. I understand that, but I think what you should do is keep the box and just throw my body over the cliff. Father, what are you talking about? Well, I really think you should keep the box because I think your children will have a use for it one day. With that, the son thought for a moment. Some tears came in his eyes, and he lifted the lid out of the box, and he let his father out. So that's one story from Malaysia about what could happen when you get older. And I have a question for you. What is happening to you as you're getting older? You can always put it in comments. This is Storyman Mark. If you've liked my story, please hit the like button. And if you want to hear another one, make sure you subscribe and maybe even hit the bell so that you'll be notified of future Storytime shows. So, I hope you have a safe and fruitful rest of your day. And until the next time, may all your stories be happy ones. Bye.